We're back. Here we are, a mental health break, and we have an awesome guest coming here today, and we're touching on a different area of mental health than we typically focus on. She's got an awesome new book. She's got some cool stuff to offer. Janet, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Vincent. It's great to be here with you.
Where are you streaming in from?
Connecticut.
Connecticut, so it's starting to get nice for you.
Yes, everything's really green. We've had a lot of rain and it's sunny today and everything is just lush. How about where are you?
I'm originally from Florida. I traded my snowflakes for palm trees back in 2009 down in Florida, and I am a wimp now when it comes to anything cold or winter, so I don't know if I can restart.
I get it. I lived 3 years in Hawaii
Goodness.
and yeah.
Let's kick it off right there. Let's talk about what led you to Hawaii.
Oh, probably similar things to you. My mother had moved there. This was years ago. I had just graduated from college. And when I had left for college, I think I was 20, my mom had decided to move. And so she left Connecticut first to California and then decided to move to Hawaii. And I visited her for the first time, like during the Christmas break, and fell in love with it. It was just, I had never imagined anything so beautiful. And
Well, someone like me who's never been, what's one thing I should do if I were to go there?
Go to the beach. Yeah. Go swimming. I mean, if you're on Oahu, which is the island where Honolulu is,
Okay.
a lot of people stay in Waikiki, which has its, fun things if you like that kind of activity. But if you can get onto the different parts of the island, which the last time I was there, it's gotten so crowded. I would say go outer island, go to check out Kauai. I even love Molokai, the different islands. Big Island of Hawaii is where the volcano is. Maui is, of course, really a favorite place for a lot of people to go.
Well, thank you for sharing that and helping me start this show off very unique here on a mental health break. We've got a fun show ahead. My name is Vincent A. Lancia. I want to thank you for tuning in and helping keep this show a top 5% global show. Today, we're sharing a lot. She has some new meditative music that came out. I mentioned a new book, and we're going to look into Buddhist spiritual principles, how we can enact them in everyday life and improve our mental health. But I always like to start this show here, Jana, with asking about your mental health. Please share your story from wherever you feel comfortable.
I don't think I have a dramatic story other than I think what probably most people go through when you're an adolescent. There's a lot of turmoil. In my case, my parents divorced. My brother was sent to the Vietnam War, and my sister took off to work on a kibbutz in Israel. This is going way back, like probably before you were born. And it was a very disorienting time for me. They sent me away to a Quaker boarding school that was on a commune. It was just a very strange environment. So I think I went through some difficulties then. But one of the things I've often shared with people is at this Quaker school, one of the principles in the Quaker tradition is a lot of silence.
Okay.
And so there was a lot of silence woven into our days there. And for me, that was because in the Quaker tradition, they say that everyone has the divine within them. And so rather than having like a minister or a priest, it's through that process of being in silence that they believe one can connect with that divine. And so whether that's what happens or not, I can't say, but I can say that practice of silence with that purpose of trying to find my own answers and my own view, my one way of understanding life, was a really good foundation for me. I did go a little wild in my years following that, but the mental health stuff was just, I think, ordinary, finding yourself as a young adult.
I love it. I mean, it just challenges you to be your authentic self and travel and see things. And I have some great show notes already, and we're just getting started. the value of silence to provide the answers. I love that. And I think in a time where electronics are heavy and the phones and the tablets and all these things, I value my walks outside as intentional breaks from work and all these things that help my mental health. What are some things you do to take care of your mental health, Janet?
Well, I then years later, after I finished college, moved to Hawaii, moved back from Hawaii, got married, had 2 children. Then when my sons were 6, just turned 6 and not quite 4 years old, my ex-husband left the marriage. He did not leave the children or abandon the children, though I will say to this day, he and I are close, good, common support. But there was some tumultuous times there, and that threw me quite a bit. That was a difficult time. So I think that foundation I had going way back was really helpful and useful, that along with journaling. For me, journaling was like going to the oracle. Whether I was, on target or not, I was guiding myself, giving myself guidance. And that was really helpful. And then going even further, I realize how old I am now because I can talk in chunks of decades. But in any case, when my sons were older, my first son was off in college and my other was a senior in high school, I became interested in finding another skill, which was life coaching. I got certified at New York University School of Continuing Professional Studies. And in that process, came across a book called The Mindful Coach, which introduced me to some of the Buddhist concepts. And then following after that, one of my son's friends just happened, I don't even know how he knew this. I really don't. But he happened to stop by my house with a book called Awakening the Buddha Within by Lama Surya Das. Mm-hmm. And reading that book, along with just who I was already, really propelled me into reading as much as I could to learn more and more about the Buddhist teachings. So this is my way of answering your question. It was through reading and understanding the Buddhists, what they call the Dharma, which is sort of a way of talking about the true nature of reality, how things exist and function. Mm-hmm. And it was intriguing to me. And I learned that you need to find a teacher if you want to do these things, if you want to really incorporate these teachings into your life. And so I got online and found that very close to my house, I had not even known it, I had passed it several times, 5 miles from my house, is the Tibetan Buddhist Center for Universal Peace. And this is where I met teachers that actually, Tibetan Buddhist monks that were amazing, amazing teachers. And you get in this situation, you have the opportunity to observe the results of this sort of practice by seeing it active in these amazing people. And so that goes back to 2008 when I came across that. So that's been 17, going on 17 years. And that is, at this point, so much has changed as a result of understanding what I've learned through these teachings, that my life is pretty peaceful and content. And I do have a daily practice of meditation and understanding, studying. The studying never stops. It was in this experience of studying the Buddhist Dharma was very similar to when I went into my first music theory class at Berklee College of Music in Boston, which is where I graduated from college as a music composition major. And I had that at first awareness of, oh my God, the more you know you don't know. That was true in music. And it's true in these teachings things I've been studying with these Tibetan Buddhist monks. So it's
true. Hmm? Certainly true. In life, you realize how little you know. The more you dive into something, it's like, okay, I thought I knew a lot, but I knew very, very little. And you touched on something where now you're finding yourself at peace, right? You're finding what works for you. Mindfulness is a term we hear often, but how would you define true awareness or mindfulness, and what impact can that have on someone's overall well-being?
That's a really good question, and I hope I can answer it well. So mindfulness, in my opinion, I'm sure there's many different takes on it, but is awareness with an understanding, an accurate of understanding of how things truly exist and how they function, so that you have the, maybe to put into like a common experience, you have a feeling, you notice that you're feeling sad or resentful or any number of things that are disturbing. We learn that we can trace that back, that feeling, to, and now this is what I learned in the coaching program, that there's always a thought that precedes every feeling. And they say thoughts first, then feelings, then actions, and then results. And when I first heard that, I thought that's not true. I have a feeling first, and then I start thinking about it. But when you understand how fast those thoughts are coming up in your mind, and I once upon a time did the math. I don't lock me into these numbers, but if you do the math for, if you were to sleep 8 solid hours a day, that leaves us with 16 hours waking time. And if you do that by seconds, think how many thoughts fly through your mind in a second's time. I think it's something like 57,000 seconds per day, waking hours.
And you're on the right track, because in one of my books, I think I have 60,000.
Okay.
So I think 60,000, one of us is near right. And I think that's so important, where we have these terrible thoughts sometimes and these bad thoughts. And you have to remember, we can just think about something else. Just look around, change what you're thinking about, right? Don't focus on the negative. You keep going.
There's that. And then there's also, if you're aware enough to realize what that thought is, because a lot of times those thoughts are coming up so automatically that you're experiencing the feeling without even having recognized you had the thought. And so if you can look back on that thought and really examine, wait, did that person really give me that look? Was that really an intentional thing that I need to get all bent out of shape about? I'm just throwing that up as an example, right? We learn to check our own thoughts and their own validity. And are they based on truth?
And I think
that's a really nutshell version of that.
Well, it's all right, because if anyone's watching the video as this is live or once it's recorded on my wall, go to her website. Right there on the bottom, it's spelled out for you, and you'll be on your way to learning more. She's got some resources on there for you to continue as well. But I do want to circle back. We talked about another new mental health book for everyone. Walk us through this book.
Okay. So this book, How Joyous Effort Works, is, I can show it to you.
Yay, hold it up. Look at that.
It's actually has a foreword by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and has endorsements from Jane Goodall and Robert Thurman and other people as well. This is the 4th book in a series that I've written based on a Buddhist teaching known as the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, which was taught by an 8th century Buddhist monk and scholar named Master Shantideva. And the cool thing about this is that these stories, first of all, are written in such a way you can read them in any order, but they do follow one main character, and it's a contemporary Western set of characters in, sorry, I just heard something. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought there was like static coming through the mic. There was something happening outside.
It's all right. Once it's ready to go live, this is just for fun now.
Yeah. Okay. So we get to demonstrate by this how pervasive these situations are, how human nature is human nature. Whether this was relevant 2,500 years ago when the Buddha was still around, or people today, we're dealing with the same stuff. And
In a circle of again and again.
yeah, and so the main character is a young man named Troy, who has gone through, in some ways his life parallels mine a little bit, just a little bit, but he's gone through difficulties with his own parents' divorce and having his father who remarried a woman who was horrible to him, just aggressive, quite cruel. And so he's gone through a lot of pain. He goes off to college. One of his best friends was killed while he was away. So he's dealing with the loss of his closest friend and all the turmoil in his own home. Begins drinking more than anything else, drinking too much, getting into fights, and ends up failing out of too many classes and has to return home to live with his dad and that Maureen, the stepmother who's so mean. And so in this story, in each of them, it's that, what is it called? When the student is ready, the master appears.
Yeah.
So in each book, he's meeting a new teacher that introduces, some of this Buddhist philosophical view. And so while we as the readers get to be with him as he's doing this and learn these lessons from these teachers as he's learning them, questioning them as he's questioning them, engaging in meditation practices that are sort of taught, that we as the reader get to, try on ourselves if we want to. And then that's what we call this the practice, because then when these things hit in real life, we're prepared, we're ready to deal with them in a very grounded way with mindfulness, with awareness. And that's.
Well, I'm looking forward to having this on Writing with Authors. Everyone buckle up. This will come out there strictly on YouTube there. But before we find out where to find this book, before we find out her contact info, I always like to ask each guest at the end of the show, can you give one piece of advice to anyone out there who may be struggling today, going through a hard time, to help them push through?
Oh, one piece? I would say.
You can take more. It's okay.
Well, know you're not alone. And know that this moment will pass, as every single moment does pass. And that this moment of consciousness gives birth to the next moment of consciousness. So if you can bring your awareness in and, sort of do a little bit of what we talked about earlier, reach out to a friend, share it with somebody, take a walk, sit in some meditation, know that this will pass, and know that you're a good human, and that this all can change. But you're the active role in making it change. It's not going to come from outside you. It's like temperament is not your destiny, right? It can change. And there's a quote by Ajahn Chah that says, "No one and no thing can free you but your own understanding." And so if these books sound appealing to someone, pick them up. They're very relatable.
I love it because in those books, you seem to have touched on a lot of relatable topics that the mass of people probably go through at least one of those areas. And I loved, again, at the end, how you touched on taking walks again, reading, meditating, all of these things, because everyone, what works for some won't work for everyone, but I hope at least one of those does and can become a tool in your tool chest. I can't thank you enough for stopping by the show today. I have your website right down there, but where else can we find your books? Where can we find more about you online?
Well, I always like to encourage people to go to your independent bookstores. Keep those independent bookstores alive and well. If you don't have any around you, there's Barnes & Noble, and there's Amazon. Obviously, they're available on Kindle and Amazon. What else? Yeah, through my website, I have links there to that and to my music.
Let me throw that right back up there. And that's right. We talked about it in the beginning, and we had such a good chat. We didn't circle back real quick. You have these awesome new meditative music produced. Let's talk about that.
Oh, there's just 2 CDs that I've done a few years back, but they're the first one is called Piano Mandalas, and mandala is something that in Tibetan Buddhist practice, they make these beautiful scenes, sand paintings. I actually talk about them in one of the videos on my website. But the point is that they disappear. They just, they let it go. And when I play my music, it's very meditative, somewhat almost like prayerful, I guess. But once I play something, I never play it again.
Okay.
And so they're improvised on the spot. And the second one is called Piano Mandalas Compassion. And they're on Spotify, iTunes. I think that's it.
Well, I've got your website brought back up here again. Anyone head to your website, she can get it from there. And again, thank you so much for bringing a rock star performance here. We talked about the book, her experiences, everything in between. I've got some great show notes here where, everyone out there, if you're having a tough time and you're even a child listening on, or as a parent, she shared her experiences navigating a disoriented time, how we have the divine within us all. I loved how you shared that. The value of silence to provide our answers. And then, of course, everyone, I'm going to have the music be played right here at the end. Maybe I'll find another place for it too. We'll find a good spot so that way they don't have to stick around to the end. Everyone, check out that music. Head to our website. This is a mental health break. Please remember to subscribe to stay current with our mental health champions. And my name is Vincent A. Lancy. You could find me anywhere online by Googling my name, Vincent A. Lancy. With that, we're signing off today. Janet, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you so much, Vincent. I loved it.
You're welcome.